Hi everyone, my name is Nathalia Devina Widjaja from Binus International University, and I also a global ambassador of FFITS, and today I'm going to talk about green ICT or green IT comparison study between Indonesia versus other countries. In a world of continuing innovation and high dependency on new technology, ICT is an essential component of corporate infrastructures and organization. In parallel, environmental issues motivate new brand image strategies and increase the competitiveness of most multinational companies as international regulation becomes stronger. Green ICT appears to be the right element to connect both corporate innovation and environmental integration. To give a brief overview of the role of green ICT, 4 phases can be included in the product lifecycle. The first one is the development phase, includes the design of environmentally friendly systems and computers by using green materials and seeking energy efficiency consumption. The second phase is the production, focuses on the energy saving and the reduction of carbon emissions. The first deals with cost saving while the second takes an environmental approach. On one hand, producing at lower costs aims to use less energy. On the other hand, reducing the CO2 emissions tends to use subsidized energy sources such as solar panels. The third phase is the usage phase, refers to the organization itself, employee behavior, equipment, and infrastructures. To implement a green IT strategy, the management needs to draw up a new process and implement new standards, not only in terms of IT infrastructures, but also in terms of individual usage such as printing work, employee green behavior, recycling paper, and electricity usage. The fourth phase is the disposal, which is the most critical phase, as it mainly depends on the government's participation to enforce regulations and motivate companies to invest in products which can have a second life. Nowadays, green ICT concerns have grown beyond being just a trend to becoming priority, especially for the government, which needs to achieve considerable reductions of carbon emissions and cost savings. Governments have already tried to implement green ICT models. In the following slides, Europe, Australia, and USA will be mentioned as example. In Europe, as stipulated by the European Commission in its Code of Conduct on Data Centers Energy Efficiency, version 1 on the 30th October 2008, it stated that many data center operators are simply not aware of the financial, environment, and infrastructure benefits to be gained from improving the energy efficiency of their facilities. Even awareness does not necessarily lead to good decision making, simply because there is no framework in place for the operators to aspire to. Making data centers more energy efficient is a multi-dimensional challenge that requires a concerted effort to optimize power distribution, cooling infrastructures, IT equipment, and IT output. This code of conduct takes into consideration 2 dimensions of data centers. Firstly, IT loads, which concerns the energy consumptions of IT equipment itself, and secondly, facility loads, which concerns those elements supporting the IT equipment, such as cooling system and air conditioning. It aims to minimize the energy consumption of ICT by committing the data center owner and operators, as well as the supplier and service providers. In the United States, the Environmental Protection Agency has launched its environmentally preferable purchasing program since 1993. As explained on the EPA website, it states that EPP helps the federal government buy green, and in doing so, uses the federal government's enormous buying power to stimulate market demand for green products and services. As far as IT is concerned, EPP supports IT equipment suppliers who have fulfilled the green standards applied by EPA and promotes software to measure the energy consumption and efficiency of data centers and IT supplies. In Australia, closer to the Southeast Asia, Australia is the good example of green ICT integration. The government has taken serious initiative to position Australia as one of the most proactive nations in terms of green ICT. Based on the information shared by the Department of Finance and Regulations, the Australian government has developed some guidelines for the private and public sectors. The main priorities listed include some basic changes like the usage of black screens or static screensavers instead of active screensavers, or the necessity to provide automatic shutdown of desktop and laptop fleet after hours. Moreover, agencies are encouraged to measure power consumption of ICT as a component of total power use, as well as using tools and practices to assist employee in reducing the number of printed pages per employee per month. Finally, agencies are advised to replace inefficient monitors at the end of their life cycle with more energy efficient model. Example, replacing CRT monitors with more energy efficient alternatives. And finally, they are requested to undertake a telephone refresh to consider technologies that optimize energy use efficiency and minimize duplication of handset per employee. Long-term goals provide a realistic idea of the future steps to follow for a successful green ICT implementation. As part of an important change in the policies and strategies of company and government, a recent study published on the Tuesday, 29th of June 2010 by www.thegreenITreview.com showed that 18.8% of the ICT carbon footprint in Australia in 2009 came from data center. This report, developed by Connection Research for the Australian Computer Society, shows details of the energy consumption and carbon footprint of ICT usage in Australia, plus an examination of how ICT can act as a low-carbon enabler. It emphasized the way to improve energy efficiency using, for example, the support of the Australian Information Industry Association. Moreover, the report offers advice on the emergence of new competitors and the need in the near future to create strategic alliance and build stronger and more reliable programs. Before talking about what have been done in Indonesia, let's have a look on Indonesia demography. We are big countries with about 240 million citizens that occupied 17,000 islands with a total area approximately about 1.9 million kilometers square. Therefore, it's not easy to make it green. Especially with our hot weather, almost every houses and buildings use cooling system during the day and night, every day. And because of that, Indonesia has high power consumptions that leads to high carbon emissions. In terms of ICT usage from 2010 data, Indonesia has about 30 millions of internet users, and 98% of our citizens use cellular phone. And over the year, this number keeps growing. So we can say that ICT contributes significant role in Indonesia. Therefore, we need to pay attention to the use of IT, especially to save environment. In 2009, Indonesia agreed during the climate change conference in Copenhagen to take action to reduce greenhouse gas emission by between 26% and 41% by 2020. However, the government strategy has not yet integrated IT as a potential environmental issue. In this slide, we will see the three things that have been done in Indonesia so far. In terms of regulations, we already had more than 6 presidential decrees on climate change and renewable energy. Indonesia already conducted several conferences, seminars, and workshops on green ICT to increase the level of awareness about this issue. Lastly, Indonesia also has several emerging business in renewable energy and e-waste management system. In this slide, we can see several seminars, workshops, and conferences that are held in Jakarta in the past few years. And in 2012, this year, we are going to have the third Green ICT conference in November. On one of the Indonesian company, PT Tekno Tama Lingkungan Indonesia, they run an electronic waste system to recycle materials from computer waste, and by using technology, all the materials in the waste can be separated into copper and fiber. So this is one of the action how ICT can help to save the environment by processing the electronic waste. And what will be done in the near futures, I think in terms of the regulations, we need to have the national policy on green ICT, and also maybe the green building regulations. In terms of the education and awareness, we have to make a lot of national conferences and workshop, or also the green IT certification. So there must be a lot of experts in green ICT that can share about what is important in implementing green ICT in the organizations especially. And in terms of the business initiatives, so how to use ICT to make low carbon economy, and also we need to improve in terms of the waste management system. And in here we can see that there are two implementation structures to support the low carbon economy, which is ICT to support reduction of carbon footprints, and the second one is ICT to support the growth of low carbon economy. And in ICT support reduction of carbon footprints, it means that how to use ICT so that it can help to reduce footprints to other sectors and processes, and also how ICT itself reduce the carbon footprints. And in terms of the support on the growth of lower carbon economy, we can see that how to use ICT to facilitate the new business opportunities for low carbon economy, and how ICT enables opportunities in other sectors too. And this is the Green ICT National Policy Roadmap in Indonesia. In November 2011, we try to promote or share about the Green ICT awareness, and we expect that people behavior will change in using the ICT. And this year, we try to monitor, upgrade, or of the equipments so that people will use more energy efficient devices. And in 2013 to 2014, we plan to have ICT sustainability plan, and also green requirements for ICT equipment acquisitions, and also nationwide e-waste management implementation. In terms of the stakeholders, that there are three stakeholders that need to be work together in order to promote and also implement green IT. The first is for sure that the government need to support the green ICT in Indonesia by maybe having like the policy about green ICT, and also the education sectors and society. And the last one is from the industry, for example the associations, and also from the companies. So my research is basically we try by analyzing all the situation in Indonesia, we try to distribute questionnaires about the green ICT awareness among Indonesia IT professionals. And the questionnaire were distributed to 1,000 professionals from May to July 2010. However, we only get 105 respondents from cross-sections of different industries. Similar studies have been done previously by RMIT University to assess the Australian market, and also by Infotech Infotech to assess Europe, North America, Asia, and other countries. The research questions address the extent to which IT professionals are concerned about climate change and their perceptions of contribution of IT and its role to tackle a business environmental footprint. In addition, the questions addresses what IT professionals have done to increase their awareness and readiness for green IT. Talking about the green ICT commitment, based on the result, 51% of the company's respondents have taken steps to reduce their carbon footprint. Although industry difference does not significantly affect this finding, manufacturing companies and the IT industry appear to lead the rest. Less than 50% of the respondents agreed that the issue of green ICT is on their company's radar. This means that although some companies have taken steps to reduce their carbon footprint, the issue of green ICT is yet to emerge as part of the overall strategy for many companies. This result also shows that less than 10% of the respondents strongly believe that their companies will have a green ICT budget in the next 3 years. More than 50% chose a neutral response to these questions, which can be interpreted as a lack of awareness about budget allocations. And if we are looking on these statistical results, manufacturing and communication companies in Indonesia tend to include the green ICT issue on their companies rather more than other industries. Companies in the ICT and manufacturing sectors are more likely to have a green ICT budget allocation in the next 3 years. In order to obtain more understanding of the finding in this study, some of the results were benchmarked against the results of an Australian Green IT Attitude and Action Survey conducted by RMIT in 2009 and a Global Green ICT Attitude and Action Survey conducted by Infotech in 2008. From this slide, it indicates that Indonesian respondents are strongly concerned about climate change. Similar percentages were also obtained in other regions. This is unsurprising considering the tremendous growth in sentiment towards environmental issues around the world over the last several years, including Indonesia. Indonesian corporations have taken more action to reduce their carbon footprint than other countries. This result might lead to the conclusion that Indonesia has just started to implement environmental strategy while other countries have already set up different action over the past few years. Alternatively, it indicates time differences between the current 2010 and the Australian survey in 2009 and the global studies in 2008. However, Indonesian respondents' doubt towards their company's commitment on green IT contrasts with the respondents in other countries. The commitment includes whether their companies have taken notice of the issue as well as allocated a budget for such initiatives. Similar results are visible regarding corporations, reduction of IT power consumptions, and their policy on computer use. Yet the percentages are still low for all regions. While respondents in Asia lay claims to IT energy efficiency metrics in about 40% of their companies, the rest of the world lag behind, including Indonesia, which is 16%, even though it is still slightly higher than Australia, which is 14%. The same stories applies when respondents were asked if electricity costs were the responsibility of IT. Results are similar to those when metrics are in place. Again, Asia leads by 45%, while the rest of the world lags behind, including Indonesia at 20%, while Australia rounds out the bottom at 8%. Finally, Indonesian respondents' personal concern for reducing IT power consumptions equaled the high results of the rest of the world at 84%, higher than Australia at 64%. To conclude, despite the current findings showing no significant difference between Indonesia and other regions in the world, the time difference should be taken into consideration assuming that the results might be affected by behavior and awareness changes within this period. The findings nevertheless indicate that Indonesia underperforms in many dimensions in terms of attitude and action toward green ICT. And this is all my references for the research and my presentation for today. And that's it. Thank you so much. Hopefully you enjoy my presentation, and if you have any questions, we can discuss it during the Q&A sessions.